Peace be with you. It's Thursday. It's Friday. Friday. Juma. April what? 25th, is it? My goodness. How time flies. It's 24th. 24th. Anyway, this is the continuation of my spiritual autobiography. I'm sorry about the camera work. I'm limited by the cords. One of my cords is acting up, so it's a short cord, so I got to shoot from the side here. This is the continuation. This is video number 16, my spiritual autobiography. And I was just beginning a new chapter when it was cut off. It was chapter 8, The Tailwind from the Creator of the Universe. Okay, here we go. Then I did some hitchhiking around the country, went and visited some old friends, took a break, got off the college conveyor belt that was leading me to a place I did not want to go. But I did know that until the conveyor belt, I didn't know that until the conveyor belt was almost at its destination. This broke my parents' hearts. I will go into that later, but there is a happy ending. A little while after that, Stephen and the caravan returned to San Francisco, realized they did not want to live in the cities anymore, chose the place from the tour with the best vibes, and put down a down payment on some good farmland south of Nashville, Tennessee. That was the beginning of The Farm, an intentional community that began as a Technicolor Amish-style hippie monastery, where if you were holding hands with your sweetie, you were engaged, and if she was pregnant, you were married. Truth, healthy kids, good vibes, being vegetarian were the order of the day at the farm. Stephen was the teacher, not the leader. He said that, and this is paraphrased, forgive me if it's not the exact words, he said something to the effect of, if you lose your leader, you're leaderless, but if you lose your teacher, hopefully he taught you something that would help get you by. So he said he was a teacher, not a leader. The farm read ads in the newspapers that if any young woman was pregnant and was considering abortion, to come to the farm, have the baby, and leave it there where it could be raised. If she wanted to come back and get her child, she could any time. How amazingly human was that? They used to do that in Buddhist monasteries where they had a lazy Susan in the wall, back in ancient times. The farm had outreach to folks in distressed places where the weather or a crisis or just the conditions had hurt the area. They worked for good, from Guatemala to the Bronx, where they set up an ambulance service. Stephen was a proponent of the idea of the bodhisattva, someone who could walk into hell, take a suffering soul by the hand and bring him out without getting burned. I liked that idea a lot and strove to understand and emulate it and make it real in my life. The Natural Childbirth and Midwifery Initiative is alive and well to this day. Although Stephen passed away in 2014, his beloved wife Ina May carries on with the midwife efforts worldwide to make available for women a better and more dignified, natural, and educated way to have babies than the corporate industrial complex that has all but usurped women's authority over this rite of passage that we all must make to get here. Granted, there are times when there is high risk, and that is when more is needed than just a midwife. But in more cases than not, childbearing can be a do-it-yourself experience with a little help from your midwife friends. Paraphrased again from Stephen or Ina May. The same energy that got that baby in there gets it out, to boost a husband's natural, proactive, loving role in the process. Both Stephen and Ina May are recipients of the Right Livelihood Award for their humanitarian work. This was a little history about the Gaskins and the farm for a richer understanding of what I was experiencing at the time and since. There is a birthing maneuver named after Ina May. It's called the Gaskin maneuver, when the mother gets on all fours to widen the pelvis and the midwife massages the baby in the mother's belly if there is shoulder dystocia. In other words, like if the baby's breech, if the baby's in reversed or something, and brings it around, or if the shoulder's caught, and brings it around to come out easier, as it is designed to. From Wikipedia, the Gaskin maneuver, also called all fours, is a technique to reduce shoulder dystocia. Gaskin introduced it in the U.S. in 1976. Ina May introduced it in the U.S. in 1976 after learning it from a Belizean woman who had in turn learned the maneuver in Guatemala, where it originated. Shortly after I dropped out of college, after hitchhiking around a bit, in 1972 I went down to the newly established farm to meet with Stephen to ask him if I could live there. I entered his bus and sat down and waited for him beside his calico blanket covered bed that took up most of the front half of his converted caravan bus. Then I looked at the bed again, and there he was, stretched out on it, relaxing on his back, with his hands behind his head, smiling. It was my second experience with invisibility. Nothing was mentioned, just a mutual silent recognition that there's more to life than meets the eye. It was like the Cheshire Cat. It's like he wasn't there and then he was there. And I wasn't tripping or anything like that. He asked me if I was running away from anything or anyone. I told him no, but that I had been reclassified 1A after hearing him speak in Columbia, Missouri, and dropping out of school to find my peace and my path, because subliminally seducing people to buy things was not something I was interested in doing, and didn't realize that was the end game of my educational journey until I was almost there. That is how they hook people. I told Stephen about the illuminating night as I read my new draft card, how I noticed my heightened state of awareness, that it read on the back of the card that it was the property of the U.S. government and not to fold, bend, or mutilate it, and since it stated that it belonged to them, I sent it back, I told him. I told him about my adventure going for the physical in St. Louis. We both had a good chuckle. Then he got peacefully serious and said I needed to get straight with them before I could go live on the farm. I had little or no money, the clothes on my back, and a small pack, and I asked myself out loud, how was I supposed to get all the way back to my draft board in New Jersey from rural central Tennessee? He told me something that I never forgot, along the lines of the axioms my parents told me, and they stuck. Stephen told me, when I presented to him my dilemma of getting back to New Jersey from Tennessee to get straight with the draft board, he said, when you want to get straight with the universe will give you a tailwind. The universe will give you a tailwind. He hooked me up with a ride in a farm truck that was going up to Nashville for supplies, an hour north of the farm, where the interstate highways had on-ramps. I got off near the interstate ramp, headed north, stuck out my thumb, and within half an hour, caught one ride to within a block of my parents' home in New Jersey. In New Jersey, from a guy who was driving to nearby New York City. He went a few miles out of his way off the turnpike to get me close to home. Yes, the universe, or rather the creator of it, does give a tailwind to those who seek to get straight, to put their lives in order. I went to my local draft board, told them how I felt from the heart, and they just let me go, gave me a 1H instead of a 1A, and said I was free to go. I looked it up, and here's what it said. 1H, registrant not currently subject to processing for induction. And that was it. I never heard from them again. I'm going to end right there. And this is video 16, to be continued.